What's going on, guys? It's your boy Free Young Thug, and thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Making Music with Lynch. On today's episode, we'll be making a song called In Conspiracy with Satan, based off of the song In Conspiracy with Satan, which is a song off of one of my favorite albums of all time, Bathory by Bathory. Bathory is regarded by many people, as well as myself, as one of the pioneers of black metal. I think without Bathory, a lot of the early Scandinavian black metal would probably not be around, or it just wouldn't be the same. With that being said, let's get this shit. So for this song, I basically, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say steal. Let's see. What's a more clever word for steal? Borrowed an instrumental I heard. I was watching this fashion show because a buddy of mine had a few songs in there, and I was just going through it, watching it, listening to some of the instrumentals, and I came across this one. Not this one, but the one afterwards. This one's cool too. Yeah, this one here. I heard this and I was like, okay, this sounds pretty sick. I just remember, oh yeah, this is fucking ill. This is ill as shit. So after I heard this shit, I was like, alright, I want to rap on that. So I went ahead to my FL, pulled up Serum, and I found a sound that was, some type of lead, and I made this pattern here. So that's kind of what the pattern sounded like to me. And then I copied it, dropped it an octave lower. And so now that I had the main melody of this instrumental, I was like, all right, let me start doing what I do best, which is playing with the way the sound sounds. And so I turn on an EQ, chop off all the lows and to chop off all the highs, so it sounds more thin, more flat, because I'm gonna put a very, very, very boombastic bass in that bitch. So after I drop the EQ, I drop a distortion on there just to kind of make the sound to make the lead sound more, distorted. Sorry for the ear rape, but yeah, man, afterwards I dropped a soft clipper on there just to kind of limit it, because it's way too fucking loud. After the soft clipper, I drop another EQ on there to cut out some of the high frequencies that were bugging me. So after I got rid of those shitty ass fucking frequencies, and I did my little dance to that fucker, the next step was adding the 808. For me was the next step. I just wanted to get the meat and potatoes of the original beat. That's kind of what the 808 sounded like to me, but of course this 808 isn't as blown out, isn't as intense as the 808 in the video. So what I did was I added some distortion to the 808, and I added an EQ to the 808 to just kind of make it louder, more gritty, more powerful. I don't know. Any adjective you might want to insert there. Without all the nice EQing and everything, the 808 sound like this. Once I added that distortion, that EQ, a lot louder, a lot heavier, and for the most part, it's just fucking gas. So with only those two sounds, it sounded like this. Alright. That's pretty much it, no? But of course, we couldn't leave it at just that. Of course, we had to add some more. And so I decided, hey, what would sound cool? What can I hear here? Let's see. So I could hear like pads in the background, some type of ambient sounding something. I was like, hey, I have to add one for myself. So I decided to add this pad on here, which was a Morphine, which is it's a stock plugin. I just found a choir and I decided, hey, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go with the choir. Choir's pretty tight, It sounds. But of course, the pattern that we're gonna make is a very, very low octave. So we got this guy sounding like this. Oops, let's solo this. The choir dry is like, alright, it isn't bad, but it could sound cooler. We throw on a EQ, chop out some of those lows so there's no clashing between the choir and the bass, and then we drop a reverb in there just to give it a bigger, more atmospheric feel and sound. And for the most part, just like the last video, I got these 3 sounds and I'm done. I feel ready to go. I feel like we're rocking and rolling. So the 3 together sound like this. And the fashion show sounds cool still. It's quiet. But I feel like my shit sounds cooler. Anyways, afterwards I was like, alright, let me throw on some percussion. I don't know if I really copied them verbatim or if I just did my own thing, but you know how it is with percussion. That stuff doesn't matter to me as much as just the basic sounds, right? So, not to say they don't matter, they just don't matter to me as much, and that might be a fault in my logic, but at the same time, here's what I ended up getting with the hi-hats. I should take that back. The percussion gives the song a lot of bounce, and with that being, said, the percussion is very, very important, but it doesn't have to be intricate or, complex. It could be something very simple. Here's what the snare sound like. And I turned down some of the velocity on that snare right there. All in all, this is what the instrumental sounds like. There's not much variation aside from the octave drop in the main lead between this 16 and that 16. But with that being said, we bounce this bitch out and I drop these vocals on here. In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken, Lord of the pagans. In conspiracy with Satan, the lies of Christ will lose. The ways of hell I choose. Existence is a ruse. Once I bounced out, okay. So the lyrics were inspired by "In Conspiracy with Satan" by Bathory. Um, I dropped that first vocal. That's gonna be my main vocal. And on my main vocal, I basically went ahead and took the liberties of adding that same vocal chain that I used in the first video on the first song again, but basically making very, very slight adjustments. And that first vocal chain was parametric EQ, boosting the mids, the DD channel, where I dropped some of the low frequencies and the low mid frequencies, and up some of the high frequencies, along with, the gate compression, all the extra stuff. After that, of course, we have our de-esser. Added some reverb, blood overdrive, of course, a delay again, and a reverb. And this is the same exact vocal chain that I had on the first track, just on a different track. This vocal chain has actually been doing wonders for the type of music that I'm making at the moment. So after throwing on all these plugins and whatnot, here's our final product as far as the vocal is, the main vocal is concerned.
In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken.
The solo vocal sounds okay, but I feel like if it had some backup, it would really improve the presence of the vocal on this track. And so that's what I did. I basically re-recorded, made a second vocal, basically reciting those same exact lyrics, and I made a copy of that. And what I did was, with these vocals, I put them in two different channels or two different tracks, and I hard panned them. Each have the same exact vocal chain, give or take, but they're both hard panned to opposite sides. So you guys might not be able to hear it because the video is probably going to be in mono, but once you listen to the actual track in stereo, you'll be able to tell what's going on. The difference in the chain that I used for the main vocal and the backup vocal is that I removed the blood overdrive because there would be too much distortion on the vocals as a whole.
In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken, Lord of the pagans. In conspiracy with Satan, the lies of Christ will lose.
And so from that point forward, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to add some ad-libs. I'm going to add some crazy ad-libs. Might even throw some black metal screens in there. And I did a little bit of automations on some of the pannings, just to kind of, bounce them in at certain points and bounce them out at certain points. And these were the main ad-libs for the most part.
In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken, Lord of the pagans. In conspiracy with Satan, the lies of Christ will lose. The ways of hell I choose. Existence is a ruse. Hey, 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 hey.
Alright, so I thought it was fucking sick. I was like, alright, this is pretty fucking ill. For these ad-libs, I basically had the same vocal chain on the most of them, where I would have a EQ'd in a different way, drop a de-esser EQ as well, two parametrics back to back, one just kind of upping and downing frequencies, the other one de-essing in a sense. Then I used the fucking what do you call this? Goddamn, a Maximus, where I did some more frequency adjusting. From that point forward, a multi-band compressor just to kind of push the vocals. From there, I added a blood overdrive to give these ad-libs some rasp, some distortion, make them a little tough. Added the limiter because the compressor really pushed the volume of the vocals. Added a parametric EQ, shaped it in like a vocal type shape, dropping the mid or the lows, dropping the highs, and dancing with the mids to see which frequencies sound the best on this recording. And from there, you guys could see it. This reverb is muted, but that was for the most part. That was the vocal chain I had on most of the ad-libs. And this vocal chain is not original. I think it was a preset that I used, but it just happened to work for the situation. Afterwards, I have these ad-libs down here where they're mostly black metal sounding sounds,
The devil has a lord of the pagans, the ways of Satan.
They even got a full-blown black metal scream right here. Really embodying and embracing that black metal that I really want to shine in this little genre blend that I've been doing. Anyways, for those black metal vocals, I made sure that I did things slightly different. I made sure that the reverb was in full effect. I added some delay to them just to kind of make them wet. I don't want them to sound too dry. They would make the mix sound weird when they sound wet like that. And when they sound wet like that, I feel like they mesh a lot better. We're left with a pretty complete product, in my opinion. It's beautiful. The ad-libs are working in a good way. They're bouncing all around with the panning and whatnot. The backup screams are pretty sick. They're ill. They come in at a great place. And with the instrumental, you can see I drop some parts out to emphasize certain lyrics, and I drop other parts out to, make sure that when that beat drops again, it just sounds so much more fire. And in doing so, we got a full product that sounds pretty sick.
In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken, Lord of the pagans. In conspiracy with Satan, the lies of Christ will lose, the ways of hell I choose, existence is a ruse. Hey, 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 hey. Sacrifices made in the name of the great one. God gives us life so the devil can take them. Trust and obey, if they don't we will hang them. Life is a lie and your will is a fake one. In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken, Lord of the pagans. In conspiracy with Satan, the lies of Christ will lose, the ways of hell I choose, existence is a ruse.
But yeah, super ill. Super simple vocals, super simple instrumental, and the ad-libs really take the cake for me. To be honest, I think this one's super ill. From this point forward, I did that same type of master that I did in the previous video, where I said it before, Fundamentally, it's probably not the best master. It's probably not something you really want to do, but it's kind of just like a cheat code master, you know? You did a solid mix, you want your song to sound to standard, or you want your song to be loud enough that when you put it on DSPs, you know, it could compete with the other songs that are being played before and after it. You just throw this bitch on, and you could turn the volume of the decibels a little bit higher and keep that same overall zero output, but it sounds louder. And play with the adjustments and the settings and whatnot, and you get a nice solid loud fucking song.
In conspiracy with Satan, the devil has awakened, God has forsaken.
What a solid ass mix. I'm not sure, but it's possible that my original idea was to make sure that I limit the amount of tracks I can use, where I would be using about 5 or 6, tracks to try to make a song. And so far it's been pretty successful, and I think all of these songs are bangers. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed the song. And to anyone and everyone whose ideas I may have borrowed, or whose beats I may have recreated, I just want to say, you can have all the credit you want. I don't really care. I heard this Bowie quote one time where he outs himself as being a thief and says that most of, if not all of his ideas aren't really original, and he just snatches ideas from everywhere and piece them together to create a new product. And in all honesty, that's all I've ever done with my music, which can be seen as a bad thing, but what is art? It's all subjective. Nothing's original, nothing's brand new. If you put it out, expect it to get stolen. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to today's video. Thank you guys for rocking with your boy. Please like, share, and subscribe. The song will be in the description. I'll be linking the song in the description. All that extra stuff. Blase, blase. Nine on a boo-boo. Stick your head in doo-doo. Thank you for watching. It's your boy, Free Young Thug, and I'm out.